Hello everybody, my name is Ian Kirkpatrick. I'm an author and robot, and today we're going to talk about a little bit of book news because some things have gone up in the last week or two that I wanted to briefly mention. I don't think it's a really heavy sort of news week for book news, at least not that I've noticed, but just a couple of items that I would love to share with you guys and get your opinions on. But before we get started, number one, if you enjoy what I do on this channel, please remember to like, share, and subscribe for more. And number two, if you would like to be featured on this channel, please check out the links in the description down below. There is Lemoy for the monthly short story contest sort of thing that happens on this channel. And then number two is the new program that just started, the Fresh Meat feature. You might have seen the first entry of that on Monday with A New Calling by Sylvian Brecker. And if you're interested in that, check out that link down in the description below. For now, I think I'm going to try to do the Fresh Meat feature. For now, I think I'm going to try to do the Fresh Meat feature every other week. That way I can feature a reading of a book on one week and then a book review of a different book on another week. Probably a different book. I do have a book review for A New Calling by Sylvian Brecker because she asked for a book review, so that will be coming eventually. But that's how I think I'm going to try to do it. Otherwise, it's going to end up being like one video a week. So I think if I switch, that's not a reading. So I think I'm going to switch back and forth for the time being, and we'll see how that works out going forward. So look forward to a book review on Monday. With that said, let's go ahead and jump into the news. Woman says husband hates when she reads, threw away her book collection in a viral post. I don't know if you guys saw this making the rounds on social media. I saw a handful of people on Twitter saying, divorce him. But let's talk about the subject. Let's get the context first, and then we can give our opinions on it. A woman claimed in a now viral post that her husband threw away her book collection because he hates when she reads. Posting to Reddit's Am I the Asshole forum on Friday under the username WrongTurn2020, the woman said that she demanded her husband replace her books. Already, the post had received more than 13,000 upvotes and 3,200 comments. Quote, we returned from our honeymoon 2 months ago, and he's complaining about books taking our special time away, specifically at night. But I like to think that I'm balancing with my reading time. She later added that the reading habit made her husband feel neglected and ignored. In an effort to turn her away from reading, the woman claimed that her husband would call her grandma and would say that she reminded him of an old lady. However, his comments didn't work, so he took things a step further. A week ago, I found out that he'd given my book collection away, and I was devastated. After he defended himself, saying that he did this for my own good and for the sake of our marriage, since I seemed to forget my priorities. He also suggested that she invest her time in an outdoor hobby that they could do together. When it comes to marriage, many experts recommend that couples spend time apart from one another to be with friends or to pursue different interests. Other than driving each other crazy, spending time away from each other will give the relationship the right amount of space it needs to thrive. It's extremely problematic for couples when they try to get all of their needs met by their partner. Psychotherapist Crystal Bradshaw told Martha Stewart Weddings, it's not realistic. Your partner cannot be everything for you, and you cannot be everything for your partner. Very true. So it looks like we're getting out of the actual situation itself. Going up here, this dude, I have to wonder, one, how long these people have been married, because this guy is acting like he's never seen his wife read a book, to the point that he is now he's making fun of her because she reads. Or is this the kind of situation where he hid his disdain for her reading until he was like, I trapped you, and now he's going to be like, we're married, so you can't get away, so now I'm going to change who you are because I feel like I can bully you now. I feel like there are so many problems with modern dating where a lot of people don't understand what it's for anymore, which is actually, dating is for you to understand if that other person is a good match for you. It's to find out if you guys have good chemistry, if you guys have the same goals. And honestly, when people say don't talk about the tough subjects on a first date, it tells me that they don't know exactly what dating is for, because ultimately, if you want to get married, that's what dating is for. So you should be talking about religion and values and politics, and if you want to have children, and possibly this sex stuff, like if she is actually neglecting him in reading, or if he's just kind of getting mad because she's doing something else and not talking to him. That level of need is also something that should come into the conversation. And it's just like, how did you get so far as to get married to then have him immediately within 2 months of coming back from the honeymoon, he's going after you for your books. Either he hid himself very well specifically to be a manipulator, or these red flags were ignored until after they got married because he threw away her books. But it is true that your romantic partner cannot be everything for you. You can rely a lot on your romantic partner, but I don't think they can be everything for you either. Y'all can let me know in the comments down below. As long as the couple prioritizes spending time together on a regular basis, it is reasonable to pursue completely different interests. True. In fact, the ability to passionately pursue independent interests reflects a strong sense of an individual self on the part of both partners in the relationship, and a strong sense of self is conducive to a healthy level of intimacy. In response to her husband's suggestion, the user compiled a list of all the books her husband discarded and demanded that he replace them within the week. Her husband called her childish, which prompted the Redditors to ask if she was an asshole for expecting him to replace the books. And I think pretty much everybody would say, yeah, no, if your partner, regardless, this is a situation where you need to be able to talk to your spouse and not strong arm your spouse. We're going to pretend even if wife, I highly doubt that's the situation, but we're going to pretend that it is the more extreme situation where the wife is ignoring the husband because they're back from the honeymoon and she's more into her books than her being in a relationship anymore. And if that is the case, then you need to be able to communicate to be in a healthy relationship. The fact that he didn't feel like he could actually talk to her and instead took physical action in order to prevent her from doing this thing that he doesn't like her to do shows that it is not a good relationship to be in, and this is a slippery slope, okay? But not a healthy situation, because they're not able to have that conversation. The next thing, that's pretty much where I'm going to leave that. Let me know what you think on this issue down in the comments below. The next thing I want to talk about is Ruby Dixon being removed from the Amazon bookstore, or Amazon store period, over the winter break. In case you didn't know, Ruby Dixon is the queen of blue alien erotica. She is the mistress of Space Planet Barbarians. I think it's like 25 volumes, and many other series. She has built an empire. She has a very, very passionate fan base that love her books, and she has actually brought so much attention and so many customers to the Kindle store because of her books themselves. Now, earlier this year, at the very beginning of this year, possibly at the very end of December, notes went out saying that her books had randomly been struck down from the Kindle store. If you look in here, this Reddit post reads, Ruby said on her Facebook that she hasn't heard anything yet, but it's still a holiday weekend, but apparently something in one of the Ice Home books was flagged as misleading. So after hearing that the books were all pulled, people couldn't find them on their Kindles, people were getting ready to read, the author, Ruby Dixon, put out a message on Facebook letting people know what was going on and that she was trying to resolve it. And over the period of the next couple of days, fans were contacting Amazon en masse, trying to figure out what was going on. Ruby was contacting them, and I'm sure Ruby's publisher was also contacting them because she has moved, I think, from self-publishing to traditional publishing because of her fan base. And by the middle of this week, Ruby's books were back on Amazon. She said on January 4th, just a quick update, I spoke with Amazon and it was definitely an error that my account was taken down. They were absolutely lovely about it and very apologetic. We're still working on restoring a few things, so please give me a few days to get the paperbacks back up. In addition, the pre-order for Dark Fire might be fuzzed, and they might have to create a new one, so we scooted the date out, and it might have to cancel the old and make a new. Now, a couple of things that came out of this very specifically were that, one, when all of Ruby's books were removed, the rankings were destroyed, the reviews were destroyed, and the sales were grabbed. Now, I don't know if they are all being restored over time. I'm going to say that straight out. From the sounds of it, from that comment from Ruby, it sounds like they're working on restoring everything and that she will get her money back for those sales that she had on those books waiting for the payout. But that is something to be aware of if this happens to you. Now, I also, when I was looking at this story, I saw on the Lexi Oh Straws webpage, and Lexi had the same thing happen to her on Amazon at the end of last year. On December 29th, 2021, she posted, "Let me start off this post with the best news. After 8 full days, my Amazon account has been fully restored. However, for the last 3 days, I've fought an entirely separate battle where Amazon attempted to not pay me after allowing my books back. My personal fight has not yet ended, as I will not back down, and I have every intention of getting this process fixed. And thankfully, now I have contact to continue the fight." So at the end of all of this, of having her account pulled and then reinstated, she's got a list here of what she has learned from the KDP team and her calls and work on getting her royalties back and getting everything worked out and making sure there were no wires crossed for the data and if all of her books were put back on Amazon. She says the KDP team has no phone access because they aren't client-facing, so it isn't an issue. She says that it is an issue. Executives have no idea why the content team does what they do. So there are no notes when stuff is pulled down, who pulls it down. It looks like no logs of anything or reasons why placed in the case, which it's not really surprising that there are some of these issues with logging information, specifically changes or keeping logs on the stuff, because Goodreads, which is also owned by Amazon, also has many of these same issues with not logging information correctly and having very little oversight. As much as the librarians try to do the best job that they can, there are still issues that kind of go on in the background that penalize authors. Daniel Green did a long thing about how Goodreads was messing with him by putting books on his shelf and saying he was publishing them that were not being published, and he kept trying to get them deleted, and they would not delete these fake books. So there is that. The KDP content team is overseas and doesn't interact with clients. She was very verbal that this was a problem, and it is, because it's very hard to express just what these difficulties are when you're talking to somebody that might be foreign and you may have that communication barrier. She was told there would be an investigation into why she was ignored so many times and not given a proper response. While that's nice, she will never put all of her eggs in one basket. While she will remain on Amazon for exposure, she is going to go wide, and I'm going to talk about the benefits of going wide and the benefits of being Amazon exclusive here in a second. And the fight to fix the process is not done yet, and that is super true because Amazon is such a big company. Again, it is one of the same reasons why Goodreads doesn't bother to try to update either, because one, Amazon doesn't make any money off of Goodreads. I mean, maybe it does from the money that it gets from the giveaways, but I don't know how much money Goodreads actually brings Amazon. But they have such a monopoly that they really don't need to change anything because people keep using their websites and products anyway. So going on to the subject of going wide, what does it mean? It means not selling only from one bookseller. Now, I will always advocate, and I've mentioned it before in other videos, that you not necessarily use Amazon as your distributor and or as your single shop. But there are reasons that make sense for some authors to go Amazon exclusive, and we'll get into that. Some of the other options, by the way, if you want to go wide, which just means have various booksellers, there's Smashwords, there's Google Partners, there's Ingram Sparks, there's I know there are other places that'll distribute. Ingram Sparks for distribution, and it'll still put your book on Amazon. Oh yeah, Barnes & Noble. Anyway, Ingram Sparks will still put your book on Amazon, but it'll put it in Target and Walmart and Barnes & Noble and bookshop.org and all of these other places, and you'll be able to get your book ordered at libraries because Ingram Spark uses Lightning Source, which is what most libraries, local libraries, use in order to order books for their locations. So that is one of the positives that you get when using Ingram Sparks as opposed to Kindle for your distributor. Now, one of the positives for using Kindle as your distributor is if you go Kindle exclusive, which means you will only sell through Kindle, you will get to use Kindle Unlimited, which means people can look at your books technically for free on their side, but you get paid per page that is viewed, and you get higher royalties for your ebook views. Now, this makes sense specifically for people that write in a niche and people that put out a bunch of books, like Ruby Dixon, who writes in a niche. And that is one of the ways in which she brought so much business to Amazon by having all of these books that she's written in this niche on Kindle Unlimited. So people wanted to read her on Kindle Unlimited because they could just binge the books really easy. And a lot of authors that do that niche writing, like Chuck Tingle or like pretty much most paranormal romance authors, they do the Kindle Unlimited, so you can just click through them, and you will have a much higher likelihood of continual sales when you do it that way if you're a genre writer like that. If you're a literary writer or more on the literary side like I am, then it's not as likely to have that same sort of click through because I'm not necessarily selling into a niche that's going to have people reading my backlog in the same way, if that makes sense. Just there are different strategies and different focuses. Now, you get to use Kindle Unlimited, again, only if you are Kindle exclusive, which means you can't sell through other sellers. You can't get your book in anywhere that Amazon is not going to send it. And if Amazon decides to cut you, then you're done. You also have to review the contract for going Kindle exclusive if you do, because sometimes they withhold or they hold publisher rights for a couple of years, even when you cancel your contract. And I talk about this when I'm talking about ACX, because Amazon, when you publish an audiobook through ACX, they withhold or they hold on to the publisher's rights for that audiobook for 7 years, and you can't publish your audiobook anywhere else until the end of that 7-year period, and then you can change your contract on a year-to-year basis. But if you initially publish through them as an exclusive ACX audiobook, you can't change that. So always read your contract if you're going to look at exclusivity, because it may be like Kindle holds or Amazon holds your book for 3 years until that 3 years is up, you can't go non-exclusive anymore and take it out of Kindle Unlimited. I don't know, because I don't know what the terms are specifically for publisher rights with Amazon, since I've never gone exclusive with Amazon, but that is something to be aware of. Again, there are many other places that you can go for publication that also have distribution nets, and they are worth looking into if you don't want to give Amazon the entire power of publishing your book. It is just, you got to decide what matters more to you, if you want to use Kindle Unlimited or if you want to have a wide sale or if you want to have a wide net for sales. So if they cancel you on Amazon, well, it doesn't matter because you're in these other places. So those things matter. But let me know what you think down in the comments. The final story that I wanted to cover was this one I saw came up with New York Times, saying the FBI arrested a man accused of stealing unpublished book manuscripts. And I didn't see too many people talking about this, but it seemed interesting that it's just an Italian citizen who worked in publishing was charged with wire fraud and identity theft for a scheme that prosecutors said affected hundreds of people over 5 or more years. They were perplexing thefts, Elizabeth Harris writes, lacking a clear motive or payoff. They happened in the genteel, not particularly lucrative world of publishing. Someone was stealing unpublished manuscripts. The theft and attempted thefts occurred primarily over email by a fraudster impersonating publishing professionals and targeting authors, editors, agents, and literary scouts who might have drafts of novels and other books. The mystery may now be solved. On Wednesday, the Federal Bureau of Investigation arrested Filippo Bernardini, a 29-year-old rights coordinator for Simon & Schuster UK, saying that he impersonated, defrauded, and attempted to defraud hundreds of individuals over 5 or more years, obtaining hundreds of unpublished manuscripts in the process. According to the indictment, to get his hands on manuscripts, Mr. Bernardini would send out emails impersonating real people working in the industry. A specific editor, for example, by using a fake email address. He would employ slightly tweaked domain names like penguinrandornhouse.com instead of penguinrandomhouse.com, putting an RN in place of an M. The indictment said that he had registered more than 160 fraudulent internet domains that impersonated publishing professionals and companies. He set up imposter login pages and prompted his victims to enter their usernames and passwords, which gave him broad access to the scouting company's database. For years, the scheme has baffled people in the book world. Works by high-profile writers and celebrities like Margaret Atwood and Ethan Hawke have been targeted, and so have story collections and works by first-time authors. When manuscripts were successfully stolen, none of them seemed to show up on the black market or the dark web. Ransom demands never materialized. Indeed, the indictment shows how Mr. Bernardini went about the scheme, but not why. Early knowledge in the rights department could be an advantage for an employee trying to prove his worth. Publishers compete and bid to publish work abroad. For example, knowing what's coming, who is buying, and how much they're going to give the company. What he's been stealing, said Kelly Farber, a literary scout, is basically a huge amount of information that any publisher anywhere would be able to use to their advantage. In the news release announcing his arrest, U.S. Attorney Damian Williams said, "This real-life story now reads as a cautionary tale with the plot twists of Bernardini facing federal criminal charges for his misdeeds. So this isn't super helpful because it doesn't really tell you why they were being targeted, but he was just gathering information and getting unpublished manuscripts. And I am curious as to why, if anybody has any guesses. But just another cautionary tale of, if you're messaged by somebody, double check the website that they're, well, double check the email that they're sending you, and usually pretty much never follow a link out of your inbox from an address that you, from a person that you don't know, and then enter your usernames and passwords, because that's usually a phishing email that's going to try to get you. So just be careful out there. Yeah, but I do wonder what this guy was doing with these stolen manuscripts. What a world. So with all that said, those are the news items of the week. I'll look forward to hearing your opinion on them down in the comments below. And happy writing. Happy goodness with your project. See you on the Loin stream, and don't die.
Was that Wayland Cross in the trunk? Do you know, or is that something that's still being figured out?
The person in the trunk was not Wayland Cross. Is he in trouble? We don't know who did it, but as the owner of the car, the longer he's missing, the worse it looks for him.
Cross isn't a killer. For the last couple of years, the average number of murders in Baltimore has been over 300, and it's been going up. Mind you, that's only whatever the badges count as official murder, and believe me, there are people that don't count when they die. Wayland? If you're down here, tell me. I'm not talking to the badges, I've been looking for you. They found a body in your trunk. Why? Did you do that? To the left, plain black letters read along the wall. You walked in the corridor. Once that ends, you chose the dark is on the right. My vision goes blurry, flickers black and black and black for longer intervals until I can't see anything at all. I'm not screaming anymore, but my voice echoes back to me. Where the hell am I? You're dead, Josephine. Even smart people do stupid shit sometimes, right?